דאגלאס מארי, לועג, לראשת ממשלת ניו זילנד, לשעבר. אתם חייבים לראות את זה. והכי חשוב, תיתנו בלייק, תשתפו את הסרטון, תירשמו, כי אתם יודעים, יוטיוב חוסם אותי. תודה רבה ובואו נתחיל.
Joining me now is one of the finest thinkers of his generation, an author of best-selling works, including his latest on democracies and death cults. Douglas Murray, there's a new author who hopes to be an international bestseller too. She has a book called A Different Kind of Power, and she's got Oprah spruiking it.
The different kind of power is kindness.
Absolutely. It's all those things that you think are weaknesses or are taught are weaknesses. Yeah. Empathy, sensitivity, self-doubt and humility. They're powerful.
Douglas, you've called Jacintha Ardern the queen of performative caring in the past. Did she exercise what she preaches when she was Prime Minister of New Zealand?
Well, very much not. And by the way, it's so bewildering, that clip with Oprah, because Jacintha Ardern says all the things we're taught that are weaknesses, like empathy. I'm sorry, as far as I know, in the education systems across Western countries, it's nothing but empathy. Most of politics, the media and education is all that. We should all be as empathetic as possible and we have to understand other people. And we're not taught that that's a weakness. If anything, everyone is overstuffed with the idea that it's the single greatest virtue. And as Jacintha Ardern showed and demonstrated when she was Premier, the fact is that it doesn't get you very far. It certainly doesn't get you everywhere. Simply being somebody who says they feel empathy or speaking in a sort of broken, husky voice sounds like it's going to crack with emotion at any moment because you're just so overwhelmed with empathy, can actually do some pretty mean and unpleasant things to people, like going through the harshest lockdowns of, I think, any country outside of the communist world during the COVID pandemic. It's quite extraordinary. And also from somebody who says that things like self-doubt are taught as sort of things that are problems. Again, no. I mean, I wish Jacintha Ardern had more self-doubt. She said on the recent book tour that she thinks she wasn't sort of suited to be Prime Minister. I wish she'd had that self-doubt a few years ago because she could have saved her countrymen an awful lot of heartache.
She could have, and all that sensitivity and empathy was missing when she was even preventing, Douglas, pregnant New Zealand women from returning home. There was a case I covered at the time of a woman who had to reach out to the Taliban for help because she was in Afghanistan because New Zealand would not permit her to return to give birth to her child. But while we're talking about performative caring, Greta Thunberg has been deported from Israel in economy class, the humanity, oh dear. And Douglas, President Donald Trump wants her to consider anger management classes.
She's a strange person. She's a young, angry person. I don't know if it's real anger. It's hard to believe, actually, but I saw what happened. Anger management. I think she has to go to an anger management class. That's my primary recommendation for her.
But Greta remains a heroine to many, including to this far-left activist in Australia. She's an influencer who recently, Douglas, gave an address at the National Press Club.
Raising awareness, drawing attention to, and growing media coverage for this genocide that Israel is perpetrating against Palestinians is not Instagram activism or social media selfies. Let's talk about the fact that raising awareness is not weakness and that it's not performative.
Douglas, what's your response to that? Is that heroism? Is she using her privilege for good, as that activist claims?
Well, first of all, I mean, I've never been a fan of Greta Thunberg. I wasn't a fan of hers even when she was effectively created as a construct to make it basically impossible to oppose her. Because you remember, she was this school truant from Sweden, And not only was she a child, but she was also, autistic or something? So you couldn't criticize her, or everyone said, why are you beating up on the autistic girl child who simply wants to wreck all of our economies? And like, why would you say anything negative about her? And of course, it was a total political stunt. She clearly just sort of created in more than one ways by her parents to sort of be this weapon against fossil fuels and so on. I mean, she knew nothing about that. She knew nothing about energy costs or fossil fuel extraction or anything else. I mean, she just left school early to be demonstrably even more ignorant than she would have been. And then through some weird part of her autism, perhaps, she moved from loving the Green Movement to loving the Green Movement of Hamas. So she's, as I've often said, she's color consistent at any rate. They talk about a genocide, which is not going on. But as we now know from this, yes, obviously performative piece of activism where they turned up with a boat full of Instagrammers and less aid than Israel gets in every other hour in normal times. There's this performative thing of trying to land in Gaza. I mean, in a way, I was sorry that she didn't land, because it would have been interesting to see the welcome that Hamas might have given her. But of course, what we know about Greta Thunberg and this is her unbelievable ignorance of the conflict that she was actually trying to sail into this time. The reports are that when the Israelis boarded the ship, took them safely to port in Ashdod, and they were trying to show the activists the footage that Hamas took themselves on October the 7th of their enormous pride in raping and butchering Israeli women and others. And Greta Thunberg and co apparently turned their faces away because they didn't want to see the reality that started this war, certainly this phase of the war. They didn't want to see it. So once again, all these people who are about raising awareness and so on, they will literally turn their faces away from reality if it doesn't fit their bigoted, blinkered picture and idea of it.
And she was asked about that once she got off the plane, Douglas, and she, I think, referred to the footage as propaganda, and she wasn't going to watch that propaganda. I mean, it really is quite incredible because, as you know, you've seen that footage, I've seen that footage. It comes mainly from Hamas. They're the ones who filmed it, and it's work they're very proud of. So for her not to even have a look at what started this this war just shows you where she's at. Let's go to the LA riots. We've seen incredible scenes of violence and destruction, looting, arson, police officers being attacked. And curiously, or perhaps not curiously, we've seen the Mexican flag flying high through a lot of these protests, whilst the American flag has been burnt, it's been spat on, it's been stomped on. Here is one protester explaining why he's desecrating the American flag.
I'm dragging them because they're dragging us. Immigrants built this city, there's no denying that. And when they're trying to take that out, it's not okay. It's just not okay.
Douglas, Donald Trump could not have hoped for a better ad for his immigration and his deportation policies than what we are seeing in LA right now. Just the violence and destruction and lawlessness is, I think, just lending further weight to his policies.
Yeah, you know, funnily enough, all of this ties up together, doesn't it, Rita? I mean, the Democrat policy of sanctuary cities, where if people break into America illegally and then are in the US, these cities will act as sanctuaries for them, have caused cities like Los Angeles and San Francisco to become even slummier than they were in the lead up to this under massive amounts of Democrat rule. I mean, up to 12 million people, around that, as a conservative estimate, broke illegally into the United States during the Biden administration. And the Trump administration has said that they want to prioritize deporting the more than 500,000 illegal migrants who have criminal records. And it was a raid to try to arrest criminals in Los Angeles that has led to this outburst of rioting, of attacks on American police and others. And once again, we see this odd thing in our time. The Democrats, when they decided not to police the border and just to encourage people in, and to encourage people in that include criminals, and yes, include some people who want to be law-abiding once they're in the United States, but are costing American taxpayers whilst they're being there by their presence, by Social Security that they sign up for and much more. They still pretend that it's the empathetic, good thing to do to encourage from the border onwards literal lawlessness. And that anyone, including federal agents who are trying to enforce the law, are the bad guys. I mean, this is upside down to a crazy extent. And you're right, Rita. There couldn't be a better boost to what President Trump is actually trying to do. Because he keeps saying these people who are coming include people who hate our country. And then the American public see people lauding the Mexican flag and, Palestinian flags and all of the others, of course, and literally burning the American flag, protecting foreign criminals and assaulting American police officers. I don't doubt that in a small amount of the online left and fairly large numbers of people on the streets of LA, they want to back the lawlessness and attack the police. But I think the American public, as they demonstrated last year when they voted Donald Trump back into office, have demonstrated that actually they do side with the police. The American public do side with...
שימו לב כמה אנשים עם מסכות. צריך להוציא חוק ולעצור את כל האנשים שבאים עם מסכות להפגנות.
Law and order. They don't side with people who pretend that it's the police that provoke disorder rather than the rioters. They don't fall for this idea that innocent people are just expressing their fear about ICE or anything else, and that therefore they can't resist going and looting the local Apple store in LA. I mean, it's so upside down, all of this. And until we get past this era in which doing the wrong thing is celebrated and doing the right thing is condemned, we're going to continue to be in all of our countries in unbelievable trouble.
Absolutely. Before you go, I want to ask about the fantastic piece you had for The Spectator in recent days on Richard Hermer's campaign against Britain. That's the headline. Douglas, he's the Attorney General. He says he just wants to make the world a better place. Why do you say he has a campaign against Britain?
Once again, somebody who just wants to make the world a better place. And in the case of the Attorney General of England and Wales, has in doing so consistently warred against his own country. He's getting cover from other lawyers about this who say, oh no, he just accidentally ended up as the lawyer for Sinn Féin IRA's Gerry Adams. He just, it happened to be his turn to represent Al-Qaeda terrorists after Al-Qaeda terrorists, ISIS families, and so on. As if it could have happened to anyone. But that wasn't the case. Hermer's campaign for years as a lawyer has picked up every sort of anti-British person he could and represented them as hard as he could. It's so bewildering in so many of our countries that in the West that we have so many people in very powerful positions who are against the countries whose people they're meant to be supporting, they're meant to be representing. I mean, I'm just amazed. I would like the British government to have the interests of the British people at heart, as I would like the Australian government to have the cares of the Australian people at heart, and the American government to have the cares of the American people at heart. But again and again, we have elected, and in this case, unelected representatives who just seem to have spent their career hating the country that they then want to represent. I don't know what we've done in all of our countries to deserve people at the top of our societies who are meant to be looking out for us, looking out for everyone apart from us.
There's this self-loathing that is so prevalent, isn't it, in the political class, in the activist, academic class, amongst celebrities. It's fairly dominant in the culture, and it's pretty disturbing. And I noticed the Attorney General recently compared the Tories and Reform to the Nazis. So he's a great thinker as well there, Douglas Murray. Right. He has apologised for that. Douglas Murray, thank you so much for your time tonight.